Okay, so in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make a plate. Now there are a few ways to make a plate. This is a very simple way. I'm going to show you a few different centering techniques. Right now I'm doing what I call the karate chop technique. My right hand is pushing kind of flat down on the top, while my left hand is still pushing in a little bit. If you only push straight down, you'll get this mushroom effect where the top goes above the bottom. This next technique I'm using kind of the heel of my hand, creating a small little ridge, and you'll see I slowly move my hand towards me, and that ridge slowly opens up. This is a really nice way of making sure that the clay stays centered and that the part of the plate connected to the bat always stays the widest part. The biggest mistake I think people make with a plate is that they let the top get wider than the bottom and they trap some mud on the outside. I intentionally off-centered the plate because I want to show you if you can't get the outside totally centered because the clay's stiff or it's just kind of tricky, our goal is to get the top as flat as possible, and then we can just kind of cut off that outside edge. You do lose a little bit of clay here, but it's kind of like the cheating way of centering a plate. It's really the only shape you can cheat and center this way because it's so wide. But you'll notice that now when I spin this back up again, the outside of my plate is nice and centered. The next thing I need to do is open the well. So you'll notice when I'm opening the well that I open it slowly, and that as I pull it open, I don't want the little ridge that's opening to get too tall. So I'm pushing that ridge down. You can see I've got kind of a tall ridge there. I'm just checking the thickness of the bottom. You'll see that when I start again, I'm going to push that ridge down with my fingers. We always do want to make our plates have a little thicker bottom than our other shapes. You can see that my right hand on the ridge, I'm pushing that little ring down, going back to the center and just compressing the bottom. It's important to run your fingers across the bottom quite a few times of the plate. You can see I'm pushing that ridge down again as I widen it. Now I've got this nice thick wide cylinder now that I can raise. I'm going to make a mistake that I find very common. I'm going to pull it way too far. So right about there is perfect. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to yank it out and show you what happens when you pull too far, and the plate actually starts to collapse. So you can see right there how the plate's starting to wobble and it's collapsing. I'm not going to explain fixing it, but I fixed it. And then you raise the walls, very much like raising any other cylinder. It's just that you want to move your hands a little slower. Because it's a wider cylinder, you just move your hands slower. Anytime you make something wider, your hands slow down. Alright, on the outside of the pot, the cylinder, once I've raised it, just a short little cylinder, I'm going to push in with my wooden rib and straighten the sides up really well, give it a nice clean outside edge. You'll notice I forgot to compress the bottom with my wooden rib before. That was just a mistake in the demonstration. This part of the process you should be doing before you raise the walls. I just totally missed it. Make sure you don't do the same, and you compress it with the flat part of your wooden rib or the side part. It's important that the bottom is as flat as possible. You can do it at this stage, but just having the wall in the way makes it a little harder to hold your hand still because it's in the way. You can see I'm using my metal rib, just trying to get any little mud or water that's kind of stuck in that corner. At this stage, it's a good idea to compress the rim with a piece of wet paper towel. It's much easier to compress the rim, or to start compressing the rim, when it's vertical, because you can push straight down. If you wait until later, it's more likely that you kind of tweak the rim when you're compressing it. Alright, now that I have it here, you'll see all I'm going to do is take my rib and just gently lay the rim down. You can do this with confidence. It's not likely to collapse just because you're pushing down a little bit. Push down slowly, but you want to make sure that you push it down. Here I'm just using the flat part of my rib and that corner to really get and compress that little shoulder I have in the plate, which is kind of like makes it a little bit of like a deep dish plate, so I can put more food on it. You can see I'm very slowly flattening the rim. We do want the rim to go almost totally flat. It's important, you can see my right hand is underneath it, that I don't push it too far. You'll feel it kind of want to collapse, and if you feel that, you can kind of lift back up with your right hand and get rid of it. Here I'm just using my metal rib on the inside to get off any mud and to do a final compression. There was a little rock or something on there, so I made that little spiral. I'm just going to smooth that out. Now I have a really nice smooth plate on the inside. There are some texture techniques that I can use on the inside, like a little spiral I'm making with my finger there. I could make a tiny spiral. I could pull the spiral all the way out. I'm also going to show you a technique of using the rib and kind of bouncing the rib against a slower wheel, and it kind of makes a flower petal shape. And the way you hold the rib and how fast you move it will make different shapes. This is something that you could do 10 times and get 10 totally different shapes. You'll see I'm doing a really short, quick pattern. And this to me is like a spikier kind of flower. And then on the outside I'm doing kind of a wavier pattern. Kind of hard to see in the video, but you can see I'm just kind of bouncing my hand. The wheel's going very slow and I'm trying to do like a repetitive bounce. Same speed the whole time. Now what you'll notice is my hand is moving faster as I go to the outside. The wider something is, the faster it moves. So if I want to make a pattern that's repetitive, I would have to move my hand a little faster or turn the wheel just a little bit slower. So I erase some of those little marks that I made. I left the one in the center. And now I'm going to show you a rim alteration you could do on plates. This is just the most simple example. I'm going to compress it one more time. But this example of altering the rim is kind of like a pie crust. I'm just dividing the rim into 4 sides, pushing down with my fingers as I lift up, making a little altered rim here. It's not something that's too terribly difficult to do. Very simple and explanatory, as long as you just measure things off really nicely. Now when using the wood knife, my goal on a plate isn't to remove much clay, but I need to make like a shadow line underneath the plate where it connects to the bat, just so that my wire will go all the way through. You'll notice the wheel spinning slowly as I cut it. That maintains a nice flat cut. I don't need to put water on the outside because I would make this plate and leave it on the bat. Now you can't leave things on the orange bat. I'm going to cut this in half. That's why I threw it on the orange bat. I'm not going to keep it. I just want to show you the inside so you can see how thick I threw the plate and how much clay I left. You can see the rim is relatively thin, but the bottom has a nice thickness to it. I usually leave plates with plenty of trimming. I find it makes them a lot easier to throw, less likely to collapse. But that's the area I would trim out of my plate.